Hey, what's up YouTube? So this is a video on how I take care of my giant day geckos. This is the enclosure that I have them in. It's actually a 20-gallon long tank that has a metal screen topper on top of it. On the bottom here is moss. I also have a little half log cave, which they don't even use. I don't even know why I have that in there. Right here at the bottom, this little dish that has white powder and a couple pieces of moss. That's a shallow dish that I put in there filled with calcium, and that's for the female here because she's breeding. And if she needs a little extra calcium for egg production, she can just go down there to this and lick up the extra calcium as needed. Yeah, so this is the female here. Her name is Rogue. And there she is. You can see her calcium sacs that are on her neck. Right next to her is the male, and his name is Gambit. And there he is. Now, I also put bamboo in here. This is actually hollow bamboo. This is important for giant day geckos because they like to climb inside of it and hide. Mine rarely ever do this though because they're actually tame, so they're not really afraid of humans. In their cage, you'll see there's lots of foliage against the back and again on some of the sides. This is so that they can hide behind it if they want to. It's very important to, make sure that they have a sense of security whenever they feel the need to hide behind the foliage. I do use a UV light. It's a ZoomEd ReptiSun 5.0. I also use a basking lamp. And it actually just has a regular 60-watt light bulb in it that you'd use for your house. Their basking temps don't need to be very high. Their basking area usually stays around 90 degrees, which is all that they need. Now, speaking of humidity, typically, because these are tropical species, they need, some humidity, usually around 50 to 70%. So you would really want to put them in an all-glass enclosure. The reason I can get away with using this metal screen topper is because I actually run a room humidifier that keeps my basement around 50%. So we're already at the low spectrum of their humidity requirements. Excuse me. I do mist them twice a day, and that raises the humidity each time I do. As you can see, there's still some water droplets on here. I don't know if you can see. See, some of the water is hanging off of the bamboo. I don't know if you can see that or not. As far as feeding goes, I do give them Crested Gecko diet, which is a meal replacement powder. It's like a fruit and protein mix. It has the calcium, D3, vitamins, everything that they would need. Since their diet is very similar to Crested Geckos, you can use the Crested Gecko diet. And I'll show you over here what that looks like. This is the Crested Gecko diet. Now, they do make a diet for giant day geckos, but like I said, it's very similar. And I keep a lot more Crested Geckos than I do giant day geckos, so I just give them the Crested Gecko diet. And I put it in this little dish over here, this little plastic dish. I don't know if you can see that or not. Here it is on this side. That's their dish, and I just put the Crested Gecko diet in there. And then they'll get on that piece of bamboo and lick it up. I usually give it to them every other day. Once a week, I will feed them some insects. I usually just give them a couple each, and I dust it with this stuff right here. This is plain calcium without D3 because I'm using a UV lamp. The UV light allows reptiles to produce their own vitamin D3 through vitamin D3 synthesis in the skin. So I don't need to give them added D3 every time I dust with the calcium. Now, once a month, I will dust with the vitamin powder. This has all the vitamins that they need, and this does have D3 in it. So they do get a little bit supplemented once a month, you know, because no artificial lighting is as good as natural sunlight. See, now he's looking at me. He thinks I'm going to feed him. Like I said, they are very tame, and I'll feed them some soup worms that I've dusted to show you. Alright, let's open the lid here. See if I can get some worms out. Very tricky to do by yourself. Alright, so here's the first worm. Let's see if I can get a shot this way. Oh! He got it. And that's the male right there eating. Now I have to hurry up and give the female one because she'll steal it from him. Alright, so let's see. And there she goes, eating hers. And there's the Gambit again, eating his. Now, geckos, they are very delicate. You can handle giant day geckos if they're tame. You never want to grab them. Like I said, they are delicate. Their skin can rip off. Also, their little toes can come off. They can get damaged or broken. Their tails can also come off. So you have to be very careful and don't ever grab these guys. You just got to get them to walk on your hand, and then you just lift them out, and then they'll hang out with you. Now, both of these geckos were wild caught. I got them as wild caught adults. It didn't take very long to tame them at all. Only took about a week. Once they realized I wasn't a predator. Licking her lips. They're so cute. They also like natural applesauce. They like to lick it off my fingertip, which is good as a little treat for these guys. But you can use the Crested Gecko diet too. Just put a little on your fingertip and let them lick it off. Alright, so I'm going to put this camera down and I'll take them out so you can see how they are when they're out of their cage. So I'm going to have to turn this off for a second. Alright, so now they're out and they're sitting on my hand. This one is the female, this one is the male. Lighting's not really good here. Can't really see their pretty colors like how you can when they're in their cage. Maybe if I go into the bathroom it will turn on the light. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Get under the light here so you can see. And this is how giant day geckos are once they're tame. They're not trying to run all over the place. They just kind of chill out. They do walk around and lick stuff, tasting it to see what it is. Now, when I first got them and they weren't tame, they did try to run away. You know, they were trying to jump onto the wall and climb up the wall and get away. But again, you know, I never grabbed them. I always just, you know, had them, coaxed them onto my hand and, you know, let them see that I wasn't going to hurt them and that they're all right. These geckos don't like to be pet though, and that's because of their fragile skin. So they don't really like it. But they will let me touch them, but only if I touch them very, very lightly on the top. And since I know that they don't really like it, I don't really do it. I just kind of hold them like this. I do put them down and let them crawl around a little bit. They are curious. Alright, and that's how I take care of my giant day geckos.